My copy-paste function doesn't work, sadly. She's hard to listen. She sounds shocked. She sounds so broken. My heart does go out to her. I'll check it out. Thanks, no problem. And apparently we've, speaking of nations in decline, we've got 3 nations that are collapsing all in the same way.
Is Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia. 3 nations spread across 3 different continents. But despite the...
Oh yeah, North America completely paused. Europe has fallen. I don't know much about Australia though.
Distance,
except that apparently the Karen group that's the whole visa nonsense, apparently they're from Australia.
Alarming truth connects them all. They are collapsing in exactly the same way. And now the symptoms are impossible to ignore. Let's begin where the cracks are turning into a full-blown collapse. Canada. In Canada today, the average family can't afford a home in their own country.
That's a lot of countries, man.
Home ownership has crashed 31% in a single generation. Compounding this issue, foreign buyers now hold a significant stake in the Canadian property market, owning up to 13% of it, more than at any point in history. But Canada isn't alone. In Britain, the foundation of the middle class has been gutted. Manufacturing jobs gone, down 40.
Aussies are having their own issues as well. They had a little race protest not too long ago, just after the giant pro-Palestine march. Okay, interesting. What were they protesting about in regards to race? Like, did they want all of the... Like, what kind of race protest? Did they want certain people gone, or they're marching in favor of certain people? I don't actually know what that march quite entailed.
6% since 1990. And what did families get in return? The highest tax burden since World War II. All while public services fell apart. But this isn't just...
Literally South Africa.
Just a British problem. Across the world, Australia is living the same night.
Some vague anti-immigration protests have been bubbling in the UK, I see. Apparently UK was set to have some big protest on like the 21st or the 23rd of September. We'll see how that goes.
There, a quiet takeover is underway. Foreign corporations now...
80%? That's crazy. You Aussies gotta start a revolution over there. Something needs to happen.
Control 80% of the country's critical resources.
True.
And the dream of home ownership, dead on arrival. Housing prices have soared by 500%, while wages crawled just 80%. Young Australians are being priced out of their future in their own country. And this pattern across continents, across governments, is no accident. This isn't just failure. It's not bad luck. It's
by design.
Called managed decline, and it's happening by design.
But does he know who is behind it?
And if you're watching this thinking it can't happen here,
it's already happened in South Africa. Well, not quite to the same extent. It's mostly that because of the bad corruption here in South Africa, that most people just can't afford bread, never mind a house. Property down here in South Africa is actually really, really cheap. Like, you can get like 2 kilometers squared for something stupid like, I don't know, like, you know, $60,000. And it's at a beachside, you know. And you've got like, you know, a 6-bedroom house or something stupid. But the actual average person here just can't afford it.
You need to pay attention, because these 3 nations are the test cases for what's already occurring throughout the Western world. What you're about to learn in this video will completely change how you understand what's happening to these once powerful nations.
There was an Austrian who knew exactly what was happening.
And why everyone should be deeply concerned about what comes next. The evidence is hiding in plain sight. Government documents, insider testimonies, and statistics.
I've recently become a housing essentialist, so an economists argue that basically every social income issue is downstream of housing. Interesting.
Patterns reveal
CT is like Among Us.
A blueprint that's been quietly unfolding for decades. And once you see it, you can't...
Let me guess, it started in the 60s.
...unsee it. Most people have no idea that the collapse of these 3 nations follows a familiar historical pattern. Every empire throughout history has fallen in a similar way.
Yeah, they were strong, they became gay, then they fell. Every single time.
From the inside out. Take ancient Rome. Most think it fell to barbarian invasions, but Rome's real decline began internally. through economic inequality that mirror what's happening across Canada, the UK, and Australia right now. By the 2nd century AD, as Rome's expansion slowed, the wealthy elite created massive estates worked by imported labor. This destroyed
Huh. Didn't Trump recently sign something that's going to make it easier for the 1 billion Indians to come work in the US? That sounds familiar.
local Roman farmers, the backbone of the Republic, who were crushed by debt and displacement. Sound familiar? It should. It's the exact same pattern unfolding today. When Roman reformers tried addressing these inequalities, they were eliminated. The elites chose to get rid of reformers rather than give up their power. A key point to remember as we look at what's happening in these modern nations. Just as Rome faced demographic collapse in its final years,
Demographic collapse. Ooh, interesting. The Great Replacement has been happening for centuries, Chad.
these three nations are experiencing unprecedented population shifts. Despite Canada importing over 480,000 migrants in 2024 alone,
connected? Yep.
its fertility rate has plummeted to just one.
Because we have a setup where we somehow made single-family home the backbone of personal finance. We ended up with a situation where we cannot decrease the cost of housing without the elderly middle class completely disappearing. Interesting. So is that the situation we're currently facing? Waiter, some more of this demographic collapse, please.
1.48 children per woman, far below the replacement level.
Do as Sunjo Abe commanded you. Have lots of babies.
The UK's fertility rate has crashed to 1.
Hey, what did I say earlier? 1960? I called it. I knew it. I knew it. Everything that has completely destroyed culture and society started roughly here.
1.44, while Australia's sits at 1.5. These countries aren't growing naturally. They're being artificially repopulated while their middle
By who?
classes vanish, exactly as Rome's did before its fall.
There's actually a saying down here that South Africa has no middle class. It's because you're either dirt poor, living paycheck to paycheck, or you're a billionaire. That's pretty much it. And look how we're doing. All because of the moon landing keks? Not quite.
Managed decline might sound like boring corporate
That is a
jargon,
funny theory.
but it represents one of the most dangerous concepts in modern governance. Originally a business term for companies beyond saving, it evolved into a strategy where maintaining appearances takes priority over actual solutions. This isn't conspiracy theory, it's documented policy. The concept emerged during the 1980s in Britain when Margaret Thatcher's government advised that struggling industrial cities should be left to manage decline.
I think I'm what counts as the middle class in most countries, but I'm in the top 0.1% of family income on my own as a single guy. Yep, pretty much. So like, if we had to take the well-off people in South Africa, they'd probably be like middle income in like another country, especially Western developed countries.
Controlling the collapse rather than preventing it. But what's truly shocking? This
Must destroy the
localized
moon.
strategy
Why not? Big brain time. Steal the moon. Just like Gru did in Despicable Me. That way you can make money off of it.
has now been scaled up to the national level across Canada, the UK, and Australia. And the evidence isn't hidden. It's being announced openly. Don't believe it? Just look at the official messaging coming out of these governments. They're infamous. You'll own nothing and be happy.
You will eat the bugs and live in the pod chat. You will own nothing and you will be happy.
Rhetoric wasn't just a meme. It's becoming the reality for millions. In Australia, government reports warn of a generation of forever renters as home ownership slips out of reach for younger Australians. In Canada, nearly a third of people under 40 now say they expect to rent for life, according to recent surveys. And in the UK, a 2025 policy paper declared that the era of mass homeownership is over, signaling a long-term shift away from traditional property ownership. If this
By
is your
design.
first time hearing about managed decline, prepare for a rude awakening.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I've heard of managed decline. Like, obviously I know the symptoms of it, but first time I've heard it. I had a coin termed for it. a term coined for it, sorry.
Because once you understand how it works, you'll start seeing it everywhere. And nowhere is it more obvious than what's happening to Canada right now.
More like South Africa, but you know.
Canada presents itself as a progressive, independent nation.
Yeah, I rent a 3-bedroom standalone in a suburb. You have 2 cars, work a regular 9 to 5, and have 10% left over each month. That basically makes me royalty. Yeah, that is pretty much royalty in South Africa. You have money left over? Big rich. You have more than 1 car? Big rich. You got a 3-bedroom as a single guy? Big rich.
Reality is being transformed back into a resource colony before our very eyes. Here's the playbook being implemented with frightening precision. First, domestic production gets strangled. Since 2009, business investment per worker in Canada has fallen by 20%, according to Statistics Canada, part of a broader trend tied...
Well, not when I spend it on Umamusume pools. Oh no, you also play that game? Everybody's playing that, it seems.
...to weaker market competition.
Maybe I should play it on stream one day.
Meanwhile, productivity has stagnated. Canada also recorded only 1.1% growth in real GDP per capita between 2014 and 2024, making it the second worst performer among 38 high-income countries. Second, the market gets flooded with new consumers. Canada now has the highest population growth in the G7, with 98% coming from immigration.
That is terrifying.
This creates artificial GDP growth on paper while masking collapsing living standards. Meanwhile, the housing market has detached completely from economic...
I'm a depressed 30-year-old salaryman. I'm the target audience. This is my hole. It was made for me. I relate, man. I'm not as old. I'm like 24, but, you know, I'm a depressed jobless man because the last people I applied to said we don't hire white people, so... Maybe it also is made for me. You'll be lost to gacha addiction, mate. No.
Reality. The average Toronto home now costs 11 times the median household income.
That is crazy.
More than double what financial experts consider remotely sustainable.
It's more like quadruple. 37-year-old here? Yeah, old guy. I'm pretty sure around the same age as Vasali as well.
Young Canadians aren't just unable to buy...
I've got a lot of Zoomers and Millennials in my audience.
...homes. They're spending up to 60% of their income on rent alone. The numbers are staggering. In March 2025, the average home price in Toronto hit $1.4 million.
What? That's crazy. Like down here, for a really good house, you paying 1.4 million rands, which is like 20 times less than this. That is crazy. Racing anime horse girls is the closest I'll ever get to having a daughter, and they deserve only the best. That is despair, gear. That is very depressing.
While Vancouver topped 1.6...
Maybe there's hope. Just go to the Free State, find a 2-meter tall Buddha and get married.
$7 million. Meanwhile, the median annual income in these cities hovers around $100,000. The math simply doesn't work anymore. And who's buying these properties? Foreign investors purchase tens of thousands.
32 next month. Happy early birthday, man. Yep. Clientele funeral cover is going to be calling you soon.
Thousands of Canadian homes in recent years, with many left empty as pure investment vehicles. In fact, things got so bad that the federal...
I bought a house a year or two ago without family, and I spent the rest... spent on rent separately. We just lived together, but at least we paid the mortgage together, yeah.
Government extended it.
Can someone please explain to me what mortgage is? I don't actually know what mortgage is. Like, I played Monopoly, and that's my only experience of what mortgage actually is.
Foreign buyer ban to 2027. Statistics Canada data shows that non-residents owned about 7% of condos in British Columbia and 5.6% in Ontario.
That's scary. Home loan. Oh, okay. So I assume when you're looking to buy a new home for yourself, you'd go to the bank and they'd essentially give you a loan to buy it, which you pay off. And I assume that then is the mortgage, if I'm not mistaken.
Clear evidence that investment demand has distorted housing supply. But wait, you might be thinking,
you can also take out a home loan on a house you already own, which is what you do in Monopoly. What? Huh? You can take out a home loan on the house you already... Huh? Dude, I'm having a stroke trying to comprehend that. What do you mean, take out a home loan on a house you already own? What? Huh? Anyways, you can't fully pay off a house. You get a mortgage, which is a house loan. Okay.
This just normal economic evolution? Think again. Most Canadians never even noticed when, back in 2015, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper publicly dismissed the middle-class prosperity platform as outdated. At the time, it sounded like political posturing, but in hindsight, it reads more like a warning. Because what followed was a slow, calculated dismantling of the economic foundations that once upheld middle-class life in Canada.
If your house is paid off, you can take out a loan with the house as collateral. Oh, okay. Same as if you buy a house fresh? I see.
But here's the truly mind-blowing part. Canadian policymakers aren't failing to solve these problems. They're just ignoring the inevitable.
Yeah, because they're probably benefiting off of this.
When asked what happens if Canada's housing bubble finally bursts, analysts warned that it could trigger a financial crisis with ripple effects far beyond real estate. As Jacobin notes, Canada's housing market has become a
Jacobin? Hey, someone give me the measurements of his nose.
tinderbox propped up by speculation, lax regulation, and blind faith in endless appreciation. If the bubble pops, it won't be a surprise. It'll be a disaster foretold. That's right, the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. If you think Canada's
Who designed it? Get to the real juicy parts.
managed decline is shocking, just wait until you see what they've done to Britain. It's the same blueprint, just a more advanced stage. And what you're about to discover will make you question everything.
Basically, you sell the house back to the bank and repay them for it. You get the value of the loan in cash, whatever you need to use it for. This is typically considered an awful move that you shouldn't do if you aren't desperate. I see.
Thing you thought you knew about modern economics. The United Kingdom, once the workshop of the world and birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, is now experiencing the fastest deindustrialization of any developed nation in history.
Remember what I said when people, where other countries were basically falling down faster than South Africa is? Exactly what I mean. Blame Adam Smith? What did he do?
British manufacturing, which represented 30% of GDP in the 1970s, has collapsed to just 9% today. Meanwhile, London's financial services sector has exploded, creating enormous wealth for a tiny minority while the rest of the country withers. What makes Britain's situation particularly alarming is the tax burden
Are you more of a socialism type of dude?
Citizens now face. UK residents endure the highest taxation levels in over 70 years, higher than in countries like Canada, Switzerland, and Ireland. Yet,
that is huge.
Receive deteriorating public services in return.
And I thought public services in South Africa was bad. Apparently it's even worse over there.
And it's forecast to get even worse. Government projections show the tax burden climbing further in the coming years, setting new post-war records while offering little relief to a population already feeling squeezed. A closer look at the numbers tells the shocking story.
55%? That is crazy, man. I'm sorry, but tax should never be more than 10%. 39%? If I'm not mistaken, tax in South Africa, it does scale with the amount that you earn per annum.
The average British worker now loses 30 to 40% of their income to taxes when all direct and indirect taxes are calculated. Yet National Health Service waiting lists have hit 7.8 million people as of March 2025.
I wonder if this is also by design.
Schools are crumbling with an estimated £13.8 billion repair backlog. And over half of Britain's roads, more than one.
And I thought South African roads were bad. They all got potholes that big? You basically fall in and come out to another world.
107,000 miles are now less than 15 years away from total failure.
But I imagine some are worse than others.
Where's all that tax money actually going? The most revealing statistic might be this. While ordinary Britons face crushing tax burdens, More than 72% of Britain's top corporations pay less than 10% effective.
Why is this? Why are all the bazillion and trillionaires not paying tax? What everybody else does.
Effective tax through complex offshore structures. And these same corporations are snapping up the very infrastructure being neglected by the government.
No, this is not a capitalism issue. This is a sinful heart issue right here. And this is also, I suppose you could say, malicious neglect. Because there is 100% chance that if you got enough people together in your government and you decide to say screw you to these big corpora that are destroying your country, you could absolutely do it. But I bet you now all these politicians don't do that because they got a hand in the big corporate cookie jar.
Thames Water, the utility serving 15 million people, is now majority owned by foreign investment funds, including entities from Canada, Abu Dhabi, and China.
I don't even know Abu Dhabi was a real country, but okay.
While the company has not paid dividends to external shareholders since 2017, it has continued internal payments to service its substantial debt. Across England, water companies are projected to distribute £14.7 billion in dividends by 2030, even as customers face increasing bills to fund essential infrastructure repairs and address sewage pollution.
So they're just making excellent through-the-roof stonks? Where everybody else ain't? Of course, it would be bad for quarterly profits if we taxed the corporations. Yeah, kappa. Exactly. And how many times have you seen a politician who's actually a businessman and he's got either a CEO or managerial, any type of high-ranking position in a company just like this? So of course they're going to lobby for lower taxes because it means they get less money out of it.
But the most terrifying part of Britain's managed decline? The erasure of property ownership.
You will own nothing until you will be happy.
Home ownership among Britons under 35 has plummeted from 65% in 1996 to just 28% today. Meanwhile, over 40% of rental properties are now owned by overseas investors who leave many units deliberately
40% is too much. That's way too much.
Vacant as pure investment vehicles. And who's buying these properties? In London alone, nearly 27% of all homes sold in the first quarter of 2024 were snapped up by foreign buyers, 3% from the year before. Chinese.
I wouldn't even allow more than 1% of my nations to be bought up by foreign interests.
And Middle Eastern investors led the surge, while American investment giants like BlackRock continued expanding their...
Of course, it's BlackRock. They've got their hands in everybody's cookie jars. They even got a hand right up in your pants.
Portfolios by acquiring large numbers of former public housing units. The message couldn't be clearer. Ordinary citizens are being transformed from property owners into permanent renters, from stakeholders into dependents. This isn't just the side effect, it's the primary objective. How far will they go with this plan? Look no further than Australia, the testing ground for the most extreme version of this economic transformation. What's happening there right now is a
BlackRock dink donk, yep.
preview of what's coming for the rest of the Western world.
If you want a preview, look at SA.
Australia markets itself as the lucky country, a land of sunshine, prosperity, and opportunity. The reality? It's experiencing perhaps the most dramatic transformation of all three nations. Once a country with the highest home ownership in the world, Australia has seen that dream evaporate for an entire generation. Housing costs in major cities have skyrocketed, rising over 3,400.
What? That is mind-bogglingly insane.
100% since 1975, while median full-time wages have grown just 1,183% in the same period. The culprit? A deliberate policy of hyper-immigration.
Ah, yes. Immigration. And who is behind it?
Coupled with foreign investment incentives that have transformed housing from shelter into financial assets.
And the government could fix this, but they won't because they're getting money out of it.
Internal government documents from 2018 reveal Australian Treasury officials acknowledged this was creating a two-tier society, but proceeded anyway because it was generating significant wealth for...
And I wonder how many of them were existing property owners. I've never understood Australians' housing crisis. They are the least population-dense country in the world, but they somehow lost the ability to build houses. It's not just that they're losing the ability to build houses, is that all the available houses have essentially been bought up by other people. Let's say even if you have a population of 1,000 people and you got 2,000 houses, well, if the foreign nations take 300 and the rich people take, call it 600, well, now you have 1,000 people divided up among 100 houses. You could say, well, sure, just build more houses. But what if they're buying up not just houses but other property too? You get where the problem comes in.
Existing property owners. Let's put some hard numbers to this transformation. In 2023, foreign buyers purchased around $15 billion worth of Australian real estate, enough to spark serious concern about housing access for locals. In response, the government is now implementing a 2-year ban on foreign acquisitions of
Should have been a permanent
established dwellings starting in April 2025. Meanwhile, immigration hit a historic high, with 547,200
That's way too much, dude.
new arrivals approved in
500,000
2023,
in 1 year?
even as building permits
The one thing I like about SA, we are very, very xenophobic down here. Good luck ever immigrating to South Africa.
for new housing dropped by 8.5%. Elementary economics tells us what happens next: skyrocketing prices that make homeownership impossible for ordinary Australians. In Sydney, the median home now costs
So what, you gotta save up for 15 years to buy a house? That's assuming you actually save every single penny. Governments will not permit house building since it will decrease the profits of the real estate speculators and kill the boomers who only retirement plan. Yep, you're exactly right. Hit the nail on the head. Boomers have completely destroyed the economy of the world. And millennials, no offense, have completely destroyed culture around the world. Gen Alpha destroyed language.
15.3 times the median annual household income, officially making it more unaffordable than even notoriously expensive San Francisco.
Not all of you guys. Not all of you guys. Let's see. Money for companies made. Commerce kills all. We're in the birth town 10 years ago. Seismic zone, etc. They build new high-rises for violation of seismic safety. Cause money. Yep, love of money, root of all evil.
Cisco or New York. But the housing crisis is just one piece of Australia's managed decline. The country's natural
We gave you a Bo Berman Inside Comedy Special on Netflix. You're welcome. Yeah, you also gave us Dragon Age The Veil Guard.
resources, once
And Velma, for those of you who remember that show.
considered the birthright of all Australians, have been systematically sold off to foreign interests. Over 86
Guys, I got a hot take. If you reach the age of 40, you have to retire from politics. Hot take. And if you're any type of business owner, you can't be a politician. Hot take.
percent of Australia's
Duh.
mining industry is now foreign-owned, with China controlling the majority stake in
Why does China own you? Like, what? How greedy are these people that they're willing to sacrifice all their citizens on the altar of greed?
key sectors. Over the past 2 decades, Sydney's population has surged by nearly 40%, reaching approximately 5.56 million in 2024. This rapid growth has outpaced infrastructure development,
And I want to bet that half of this, or even more so, a significant portion, I would speculate, has to do with all of the immigration that they're getting as well.
leading to significant strain on the city's transportation systems. Consequently, Sydney now ranks among the most congested cities in Australia, with
Ooh, that's a lot
drivers
of traffic.
spending an average of 51 hours annually stuck in traffic. At this point, you're probably wondering, if this decline is so obvious, why aren't citizens in these countries rising up in protest?
Excellent question.
That's where the most ingenious part of this whole scheme comes in. What if we told you there's a psychological operation running alongside the economic transformation?
I would believe it. Put on your tinfoil hat, boys. The whole political and gender ideology and the whole identity politics nonsense, it was designed specifically so that you ignore all of this that's happening.
one designed specifically to make resistance impossible. The real danger lies in how these same tactics are now appearing throughout the Western world. If you've noticed increasing political polarization, the demonization of national pride, and the criminalization of certain forms of protest, you're witnessing the early stages of the same control system. There's something even more disturbing happening alongside the economic transformation of these nations. A deliberate campaign to fracture social cohesion.
Told you.
Strong national cultures with shared values pose the greatest threat to manage decline because they create solidarity and resistance. The solution? Fragmentation.
And you can do this a number of ways. You can introduce BS vanity politics and ideologies to divide your population. You can introduce a whole lot of immigrations and, under the guise of multiculturalism.
In all three countries, we've seen unprecedented efforts to reframe national identities as problematic or outdated, replacing them with competing interest groups.
Why does this look so familiar to post-World War I Germany, chat? It's such a distraction. If you think of a leftist, you don't think of leftist economics, only of leftist social politics. Exactly. When people on the right and the left, they're busy debating, in whatever scenario, it's always about the, the social political side of it. It's hardly ever discussed in the economic sphere. And that's likely by design, because they'll dangle this, carrot of, what's a good word to use? This, carrot of a useless morality issue that you're supposed to fight over, instead of ignoring the real elephant in the room that's busy robbing both of you blind.
Divided populations don't organize effective resistance. Look at what happened in Canada when the truckers protested in 2022. The government didn't just disagree with them, they froze their bank accounts, seized their assets, and labeled them extremists. In Australia, when farmers protested against climate policies that threatened their livelihoods in 2023, the government deployed surveillance technology originally developed for tracking terrorists. And in Britain, the 2023 Public Order Act gives authorities sweeping powers to shut down any protest deemed disruptive, a term so vague it can apply to virtually any meaningful demonstration.
I hate it when policies are vague, so they can just do whatever they want with it.
The messaging is carefully crafted, too. In all three countries, government-funded media push identical narratives.
Also, what is up with you people having, no gap between your houses? What is up with that? I never understood this. I think it just looks so bad. You go to South Africa, there's a wall here, and the house is in the middle. And then there's yard, and there's wall, then there's yard, then there's wall.
Narratives. Home ownership is outdated, national sovereignty is xenophobic, and opposing mass migration is racist. Anyone questioning these narratives finds themselves algorithmically suppressed on social media.
Another big thing is not only do they introduce, all these BS social politics we fight over, they control the narrative using things like social media and even legacy media to a large extent as well.
Excluded from mainstream platforms and in some cases investigated by authorities.
How many times have you seen someone in Germany, France, or the UK especially being arrested for Facebook memes?
Australia has perhaps gone furthest with its Online Safety Act, giving the government unprecedented power to remove content deemed harmful, a term so broadly defined it has been used to silence economic criticism.
Not just economic criticism, by the way, just any types of criticism against the government whatsoever.
While no official takedown order has been confirmed, online commentators have alleged that videos critical of foreign ownership, particularly those highlighting Chinese stakes in Australian infrastructure, have quietly vanished from major platforms.
Stop noticing, chat.
One such viral video, which had amassed over 3 million views and cited only publicly available corporate filings, disappeared from YouTube without warning. Whether it was removed due to algorithmic enforcement or flagged under broad harmful content guidelines, the effect was the same: dissent erased. These tactics create what psychologists call learned helplessness. When people experience enough futility in changing their circumstances, they stop trying altogether.
I feel like that's something that I've also seen a lot in South Africa. where we could easily just, replace these morons in charge of us, but we don't. We just keep accepting all the BS that they give us because we're basically reached a point where we're feeling like, what's the point?
But are we really helpless? That's where the story gets interesting. Because if you think the situation is bleak now, wait until you see the final phase of this plan that's already being set in motion. The end game isn't just economic.
The thing is, if you want to get into the Kant ethical philosophy, you can make a good argument that left-wing social politics maximizes personal freedoms and reduces harm. But that feels like such a small stakes opposed to economics. Interesting.
Restructuring. It's the
But I would disagree with the social politics for the left, though.
complete transformation of Western democracies into controlled, feudalistic systems where citizens own nothing and corporations own everything.
By the way, guys, this is what you get for having democracies. Long live the king.
In Canada, the 15-minute city concept is being implemented in Toronto, Vancouver, and
What does that
Montreal.
mean?
In
15-minute
theory,
city?
it sounds benign. Everything you need within 15 minutes of your home. But in practice, it's about restricting movement and monitoring citizens.
Of course.
Toronto's
Welcome to 1984, chat.
pilot program already includes climate permits.
What do I suggest then? In regards to what? In regards to the type of economic or political system, or what?
Limiting car usage.
I mean, you just give me reference what exactly you want me to suggest about. There's a couple of things. I mean, we can argue about it and write a few PhD dissertations, but yes, the social politics are ultimately a distraction from the from us being economically being screwed over. The power system, who should wield it? You want my honest take? My honest two cents? Alright, boys, here it is. This is my hot take. I'm willing to accept criticism. I'm willing to accept that at least 95% of you won't like it. Long live the king. A monarchy comprised of a king, only king, by the way, no queens unless the king's absent, who is godly and righteous in his methods of ruling. The moment he steps outside of biblical guidelines, he is to be deposed forcibly. Simple as that.
To certain days of the week. In the UK, the Bank of England launched a CBDC pilot.
A lot of issues that have arisen like this, even the economic ones, it's because of the severe lack of morality in society, and there's no one to do anything about it.
Program in January 2025, with plans for full implementation by 2026. These central bank digital currencies will give governments unprecedented.
The people are more powerful than the king. Yes. You need to have a very unified morality system in a society. People make I think, the very erroneous mistake of assuming that you can solve all the problems in a country by putting down only legal guardrails. You would have to implement moral ones as well. And I think, from my personal experience, the way to do that is biblically. That is the only way you're ever going to get a semi-functioning society that doesn't lead to this.
Control over how and where you can spend your money. Imagine being unable to buy certain foods, products, or services because some algorithm deems them harmful to climate goals.
Bro, that is such nonsense.
Or socially problematic. And in Australia, the Digital ID Act passed in February 2025 creates a mandatory biometric identification system ostensibly
That just sounds like a gateway to a whole lot of problems.
to streamline government services. What they don't
Biblically,
mention is
but what about my femboy girlfriend? Guys, you don't get femboy girlfriends. You just get girlfriends, unless you mean to say femboy boyfriends. Even if that's the case. A small sacrifice Oh damn, what was the rest of the quote? Something, small sacrifice for salvation. I don't know, something like that. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to let go of the femboys. That's the only way to fight Big Corpa.
This system will track every interaction with government services, health providers, and financial institutions, creating a social credit infrastructure that mirrors China's controversial system. Now, this pattern isn't limited to just these 3 countries.
I bet it's gaining traction in a lot of countries, not just these 3.
The same warning signs are flashing across the Western world. Let's look at what's happening in the United States, for example. In 2010, the U.S. homeownership rate stood at 69%.
Nice.
By 2016, it had fallen to 63%, with the steepest declines among those under 35.
Let me guess, it went whee once we got to the 2020s.
Meanwhile, since 2020, institutional investors have purchased over 35% of single-family homes that hit the market.
I'm sorry. You shouldn't be allowing this to happen. For these big corporates buying up all the residential areas.
Market in major.
Did you guys not watch the movie Rango? I feel like now more than ever that movie's very relevant. You lost me. I'm looking forward to my Amazon.femboy girlfriend. Long live Musk. What? Amazon.com femboy girlfriend. Long live Musk. I want to have the harem for Musk. But he already gave it to you. He gave you Grok AI, who is now a waifu now.
Metropolitan areas.
It's all a distraction, so that you don't notice the fact that people are robbing you blind.
Anyone living in Phoenix, Atlanta, or Charlotte, the transformation is impossible to miss. Nearly 1 in 3 homes in some neighborhoods.
Alright, AI harem it is. No. No. Do not be persuaded by the perversions of hologrammacy.
Are now owned by Wall Street firms and investment vehicles, often paying 20 to 50% above asking price to outbid individual.
You could easily solve this using the government. But all the governments have all their hands in all of these big corporate cookie jars. No, they're robots. It is not. Fine, Cybersy then.
Families.
It's all a scam designed to make you hate and goon and hate. When you can't goon, you hate even more. Do not succumb to its pelvic sorcery.
BlackRock, Invitation
Flesh and metal? Okay, well now it's a cyborg.
Homes, and other institutional investors now control over 300,000 single-family rentals across the fastest-growing cities. But here's where things get even more concerning. These same investment giants received unprecedented Federal Reserve support during the 2020 financial interventions, effectively accessing billions in near-zero interest loans unavailable to average citizens. They then used this cheap capital to buy up housing at scale, creating artificial scarcity that drives up both property values and rents.
Yep, by design, boys.
Manufacturing sector tells a similar story worldwide. The U.S. has lost nearly 7 million manufacturing jobs since 1979.
Yeah, apparently automation over the last couple of decades has gone wild.
With over 60,000 factories closing just since 2001. Meanwhile, foreign ownership of industrial capacity has reached record levels across Western nations.
Oh, I forgot that. It's not just that they're getting replaced by robots, it's that they're also importing a bazillion Asians and Indians to do all the cheap labor for them.
Perhaps most concerning are the parallels in land ownership. Foreign investors now control over 40 million acres of American farmland, an area roughly the size of Florida. Chinese firms
This is literally what a sellout looks like, by the way.
alone have increased their holdings by 405% since 2010. But isn't this just the free market at work?
No. This is
When you look behind
manipulation
the
of the free
curtain,
market.
in 2023, Congress had the opportunity to restrict foreign purchases of farm.
People think of the free market as something that's completely unregulated. There is no world which exists where the free market is completely unregulated. You have to have regulations to prevent stuff like this happening.
Land near military installations. Instead, they expanded loopholes, allowing continued acquisition through complex corporate structures. This isn't incompetence. It's by design. Federal Reserve pilot programs for a digital dollar mirror developments in Britain and Australia, creating the framework for programmable money that can be restricted based on social policies or political positions, all while wealth concentration has reached levels not seen since the 1920s, with the top 1% now controlling more wealth than the bottom 90% combined in many Western nations. What makes this transformation so insidious is the illusion of democratic choice.
Democracy was a mistake, boys.
Both major political parties
You're basically voting for a controlled opposition no matter which way you vote.
in all these countries, despite
They're all bought and paid for by the exact same corporations.
their rhetorical differences, have implemented virtually identical policies around housing, immigration, financialization,
Remember what was being said earlier? How when we discuss politics, it's always this social political nonsense, but no one ever discusses the economics, because the economics are basically the same in both political parties. It's only designed to make the elites richer and to screw over the average Joe.
and foreign investment when in power. Voters on the left blame the right for deregulation that empowers Wall Street. Voters on the right blame the left for immigration policies that drive housing demand. Meanwhile, the actual policy framework enabling managed decline continues regardless of who holds office.
Absolutely based and true.
This manufactured division is precisely the point. By keeping populations focused on cultural battles and
You see, boys? I was talking about this exact same before I mentioned it. They're dangling a shiny carrot in front of your face, and they're making both of you fight over it while they're looting your coffers. They're completely stripping you of your housing. They're stripping you from any sense of independence whatsoever. They're just completely screwing you guys over while you're busy arguing over nonsense.
partisan identities, the fundamental economic restructuring continues unnoticed. As the Roman poet Juvenal observed 2,000 years ago, give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt. Swiss economist Ernst Wolff offers a compelling explanation for what we're witnessing globally. He calls it the Great Taking, a systematic transfer of real assets from middle-class citizens to a concentrated few before an engineered financial crisis. The pattern is remarkably consistent across Western democracies.
Interesting, it's always at democracies.
First, create asset bubbles through loose monetary policy. Then enable massive institutional buying of real assets. Next, implement digital currencies and financial controls. The fourth step appears to be triggering a controlled economic crisis. And finally, consolidate ownership through foreclosures and bankruptcies. We've already witnessed the first three stages playing out. The fourth appears increasingly imminent as central banks worldwide signal major monetary shifts, preparing the stage for what the World Economic Forum
Finally got to mentioning the WEF.
describes as the Great Reset. The uncomfortable truth is that nations failing to provide futures for their citizens have already sealed their fates. When managed decline becomes official policy, whether stated openly or pursued covertly, the social contract fundamental to Western democracy breaks down entirely. Like Rome, these modern nations won't collapse overnight, but will face prolonged deterioration.
And that is the key here, is that it's prolonged. If something immediately happened where, can you imagine if you went from you went from the year 1960, immediately jumped into like 2024 where we are at now? The people will go hog wild and revolt and overthrow you within like a matter of hours. But if you do it slowly, people are less likely to push back, you know? The slippery slope. You take an inch, you take an inch, and you take an inch. Over enough years, you've taken several miles.
While maintaining a facade of normalcy. The signs are already
And anyone who poses criticism, well, you slap them with a whole bunch of political nonsense, call them XYZ phobes, and you dangle more carrots to get them distracted.
unmistakable throughout the Western world. Declining birth rates, exodus of talent, and erosion of social cohesion. This isn't just about faraway countries. It's a global pattern affecting people everywhere.
Maybe the Austrian painter was right, bros.
When major investment firms purchase entire neighborhoods, when manufacturing jobs vanish despite campaign promises, when foreign entities buy up farmland and critical infrastructure, you're seeing managed decline in action. The question isn't whether Canada, the UK, and Australia can recover their former prosperity. It's whether citizens worldwide will recognize the orchestrated nature of economic transformation before it's too late to change course.
If I had to guess, unless there's some radical change within the next, couple of years, it's already too late.
The Western world stands at a crossroads. The same policies that destroyed middle-class prosperity in these three countries are being implemented worldwide with frightening speed. Home prices have doubled in 15 years while real wages have stagnated. Manufacturing has been systematically offshored. Foreign ownership of farmland, real estate, and critical infrastructure is at record highs in country after country. Even the cultural engineering tactics are identical: divide the population, criminalize dissent, and promote a new normal where you'll own nothing and be happy.
And eats the bugs and live in support.
What we're witnessing isn't just economic restructuring. It's the deliberate dismantling of societies built on middle-class prosperity, replaced with a new feudalism where owning nothing is celebrated as freedom. If you found this video eye-opening,
it was actually a really good
and
video.
Subscribe for more hard-hitting
analysis. I don't know
analysis.
who suggested this, but this was really good, super relevant. Liked and subbed.
The mainstream media won't touch these topics, but we believe you deserve to know the truth about what's really
Would have been nice if we did a bit of a deeper dive on who's behind all of this, but
happening to these
we'll save that
once
for next
great
time, boys.
nations. What do you think? Is the collapse of Canada, UK, and Australia really happening by design?
Yes.
Or is this just coincidence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, check out China's collapse into poverty is worse than you think, right here. Don't forget to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.
Alright, clappies, boys, clappies. Good video, good video. As always, boys, the link will be in the VOD, and it's in my Discord.